Hey young art students, I'm going to demonstrate a skill for you that we have used before in different ways, in different projects through the years. But it's something that we can all get better at and kind of discover that we can use it in different ways. So I'd like you to follow along with me. What you need is a piece of paper, a ruler, and a pencil. And if you don't have a ruler, anything that's perfectly straight that you can draw against would work, okay? So before I started this video, what I have first is a horizon line, that's what this is called, and a vanishing point. And this type of drawing is called one-point perspective. And you can do a lot of different things with linear perspective. This is a type of linear perspective. That's why I've used it in different projects with you. It's because if we can kind of get used to the different rules of linear perspective, we can do lots of different artworks and make our artworks more realistic and believable. So what I have also is I have a couple of letters, a T and an S, and so the T, I chose that because it has all straight sides, and the S, I chose it because it has curvy sides. So the way you approach it is still the same, but for some of us it's kind of confusing to know where to put the lines. And then I have just this random weird shape, and then I have a square. And so I'll begin with the letters and show you what you do from here. So what you need to do is you need to draw a line like this, a vanishing point, and I would draw the T, I would draw the S, I would draw a square, and I would draw some kind of weird shape down here. Kind of do it in the same arrangement that I have. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, right now this is just a block letter T, and I'm going to make it hopefully look like a real three-dimensional T that is really using real space and looks like it's going back into the picture. So that's what this vanishing point is for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line it up with the vanishing point and these corners, and I'm going to draw a line. When you do this, you should try to draw your lines really lightly because we're going to be erasing some of these lines. So that's it for the T, for those lines that I need to draw. I did it on each one of the corners, here, 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 and here. I did not do it here or here because in these cases, if I were to draw a line, the letter would be blocking our view of it, so we don't actually see that. Same thing right here. We can't actually see it. So I don't need to do those corners. Now, what I do next is, well, first off, this T looks like it's going back into space for as far as our eyes can see. So technically I could be done. It could be just looking like an extremely long T that has like a really long thickness to it. It goes way, 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 way back. Okay? But I'm not going to leave it like that. I'm going to make it shorter than that. So a lot of these lines are going to end up getting erased. That's why you were supposed to draw lightly, okay? So what I'm going to do now is between each one of these lines, I'm going to copy the line that's in the front. So this represents the front edge of the letter, and I need to draw the back edge of the letter that is pretty much a copy of this one. So I choose my spot, and then I make a line that's exactly the same. It's a little bit shorter, but it's a copy of this one. They run parallel to each other. So that means that if they were to go on for an ever and ever and ever, they would never cross, right? I do the same thing for all of these spots. So I copy this line straight across like that. I copy this line, so straight up. And down here I'm going to copy this line just like that. It's supposed to look like this, where it's skinnier here and wider here. It's because of our perspective of how we're seeing this T. I'm not seeing quite as much of the bottom as I am of the side. It's moved further away from the vanishing point over here, so that's why I see more of the side. Down here it's a little bit closer to the horizon line, so that's why I see less of the bottom. I see more of the bottom on this spot because it's further away from the horizon line. It's all a matter of perspective, because we're basically pretending that this is our eye level and we're looking at these different objects from this perspective. Okay, so I have some extra lines and I'm going to erase those now. Oh, actually, I almost forgot. There was one more line that I missed. So I want to, this line, we can pretend that it continues and follows along with this line. So the same thing is true for this one. So I go and I pretend that it goes through and it would end up right there. Okay, almost forgot that. Now I erase these lines. Okay, so I should take the time I need to clean that up as much as possible. And you can tell that I can still see the lines even after I erase them. That's because I drew too dark. If I were doing this just for me, I would draw those way lighter so that if I wanted to erase them, I could completely erase them. Also, once you get really good at this, you don't actually have to draw these lines all the way to the vanishing point. You can draw them just long enough for what you need, as long as they are pointing directly at that point. Okay, I'm going to go to the S now. So now for the S, it's a little bit different, but it's actually still following the same rules. First, I'm going to do the corners that I can see. Okay, so I'll do this one. Okay, so those are the corners that I can see. I can't do that one because the S is blocking the view of where that would go. So I just don't do that one. Now for these curves, I need to do something about that. So even though these aren't corners, I still need to do a line that goes from here to here. The way I can make sure I know where that goes is I can take my ruler and I can line it up with the vanishing point right there, and then I can swing the ruler around so until it touches the S right there. And that's how I know. Okay, and so that's all the lines that I need, but it looks kind of funny. So there's some things that I need to do. I am going to cut it off again, so I decide how thick and how far back it goes. I'm going to say it's about right here. Okay, and then what I do is from here, the S is blocking, but I got to pretend like there's a curve that's just like this curve right here. It goes around like that. But I start right here. So if I need to, I can even draw it and then erase what I don't need later. And I'm going to kind of do that right now for you so that you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm going to copy that line. And in this case, it ended up hitting the S. It might be a little bit different for you depending on how you shaped your S. I copy and it's going to come around and curve into that line. Okay, so I'll erase a little bit of that extra in this part that I didn't need. Okay, and I don't need to do anything with that because I can't see the other side of it. It's short enough and it's small enough that I can't see where the back edge is. Okay? So now let's do this box up here. Oh, actually, first I'm supposed to erase these lines. Okay, let's pretend that I erase those completely all the way to the point. I don't actually want to see any of those. Okay, the box might be a little bit easier, but there's an extra part to it. That's why I've saved it for now. So I got 3 corners, here, here, and here, that I'm going to do first, okay? Okay, now just like before, I'm going to copy this line, somewhere right here. It could have been over here, as long as it was running in the exact same direction, as long as they were parallel. And then this one is going to copy this line. Now, the reason I did this one third is because we can, there's different options that we have. And so I'm going to pretend that this is a hollow box, like, a cardboard box floating in the air, and we're going to see inside of it. So if you pretend this is the back corner, and we can't see all of it, but we can pretend like there's a line that comes up. And so I won't see it right there, but I will see it right here, so I'll go straight up. And if you need to use a ruler to do this, to make it nice and straight, you should. And then same thing over here. You'll go straight over. And if I did this correctly, hopefully this corner right here will line up. So look, I'm lining up my ruler with the vanishing point and with this corner, and it also happens to go straight through where those two lines met. Now I could have done that line first before I did those two lines. It doesn't really matter. As long as they all meet up together. They should all meet up together right there. Okay? And so now I can erase these lines right here. Okay, going over to this weird shape. So just like all of these other ones, I'm going to use every single one of these corners unless the shape is blocking it, and I'm going to draw a line to the vanishing point. So for my shape, those are the only lines that I had to do. So same thing. Oh wait, actually, that was incorrect. I need to do this corner right here. Okay, now I can copy the back edge. So each time I'm copying one of the lines on the front of the shape. So I'm copying this line, copying this line, and I'm noticing how it curves a little bit, trying to copy that. And wherever it leaves off, that's where you start the next one. And so some of them are going to look thicker than others. So this one way over here is going to look like a really skinny spot. It's just a matter of perspective. That's how we're looking at it. Over here, it's hard to know where to go. But let's pretend for a second. And I'm going to zoom in so that you can see this. Let's pretend that this is a see-through shape. And I could copy this line. It would start right here. I'm going to do a dotted line because I don't actually want to leave it there. Let's pretend that this line goes to the vanishing point. Okay, so I'm seeing through the shape to see those lines. And then I'm copying it right there. So now I'll erase those lines. That part might have been confusing for some of us. It all depends on what shape you made too. But basically I can't see all of this line because this part of the shape is blocking it. But I know if I think about it, if I think about where the lines are supposed to be behind that shape, then I can find where to put that line. Okay, so that pretty much does it for the rules of one-point perspective with these particular shapes. The rules are the same for all the different shapes that you do. But just remember, some situations can get kind of confusing depending on where the shape is located in relationship to the vanishing point and the horizon line. For instance, if I put the T right above the vanishing point, then those lines are going to lead down to it at a different angle than what we see here. Same thing for all of these other shapes. If I put a shape right in the middle of the horizon line, then that's going to change the direction of those lines, but they're still going to lead to the vanishing point. So it just changes our perspective of how we're seeing those shapes. to add a little bit of realism to what we've got here, there's lots of different options. But like for this T, you know, if I want to make this T look more three-dimensional, I could pretend that certain parts of the T are in shadow more than others, like if the sun was shining down on it. Then I could shade it, you know, as if the underside is in more shadow. Takes on a little bit more realism that way. Okay, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I want you to try this, and I want you to show me what you've tried by sending me a picture of your drawing to my email. My email is tsteinhard@g.pateras.org or tsteinhard@pateras.org. Or you can use the link that's in the Google Classroom to send me a picture of your work. Okay, thanks guys.